exclusive insight into the world of Badger athletics, this is Wisconsin Huddle. Here's Andrew Banstra.
Welcome into the Wisconsin Huddle. I'm Andrew Banstra here in the WISC TV studios. Thrilled to be joined by Wisconsin men's hockey's Tyson Dyck. Tyson, thank you so much for taking the time to join us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Absolutely, man. And as you know, here on the Wisconsin Huddle, we like to talk a little bit about sports, but more about people. We want to know who the person is. We know Tyson as the Badger that's out there scoring the goals and doing all those great things, deacon and dangling, you name it. But here we're getting to know who he is as a person. And for that starts with your journey to Wisconsin. You didn't start at Wisconsin. Kind of walk me through your college career.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, I didn't start here. I transferred here. So I spent 1 year out east in UMass Amherst. And I was a young player, a young student, and it was a long way from home. And it wasn't exactly what I was looking for at the end of the day. And an opportunity came in place for me to look elsewhere, and Wisconsin ended up being a really good opportunity.
You know, you're from British Columbia. This is obviously a little bit closer, right? Do I have my geography correct?
Absolutely.
Okay,
yeah.
Good. I wasn't totally sure about that, but I will say 2 really, really good academic schools. Clearly, that's something that I would imagine is important to you. If I have this right, your parents are both in academics in some capacity. How important was the academic side of things?
Yeah, I think even just going back to COVID, my parents were really keen on me continuing to develop academically throughout a pandemic, throughout junior hockey. So yeah, academics was definitely a big decision the first time I picked a college, and the second time I picked a college as well. I think it's hard to beat Wisconsin when it comes to a public university, and the Big Ten too academically is hard to beat.
It really is. You don't really get a whole lot better than that, and you don't get much better than Tyson, who was named to the Big Ten's all-academic team. That's no coincidence, obviously. You're doing good things. As we keep talking about hockey, though, you also have a professional opportunity ahead of you, theoretically. You're drafted by the Ottawa Senators in the 7th round. Can you kind of walk me through how that works? Do you see them in the offseason? You know, how does that whole situation work being a collegiate athlete who also, you know, belongs to a professional organization?
Yeah, so the NCAA allows us to go to development camp, which happens end of June, start of July there. So we're able to go down there every single summer, kind of just touch base with the staff, see where you're at, compare yourself to some of the other guys that are playing in other leagues. And then, unfortunately, in the NCAA, you're not allowed to miss school for any professional events. So when it comes to rookie camp and main camp, you know, I haven't been able to do that yet, but that's something to look forward to as I graduate and hopefully have a chance to continue just getting better and making more of those camps.
Does it make it even cooler that it's home in Canada, that you'd be playing in Ottawa?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I just think that a Canadian market, I grew up when the Canucks, and unfortunately watching them try and burn the city down when they lost the Cup final, but it's a different kind of intensity just playing in a Canadian market, having Canadian fans. You know, my teammate, Logan Hensler, was fortunate enough to play there for the World Juniors, and he said it was such a unique opportunity. Doesn't compare to when they played in Minnesota, obviously, for him, but yeah, he just said it's gave me a glimpse of what I can hopefully expect to be in someday.
So you're turning down the final corner of your collegiate career. Obviously, Tyson, a senior for the Wisconsin men's hockey team. Looking back, what has this experience been like when you know, 20 years down the road, when you say being at Wisconsin, being a Badger was what?
Yeah, hard to put into words. I've loved every day of it. It hasn't been easy by any means, but through the ups and downs, just being a Badger just means so much. It's, like I said, hard to put into words, but I really don't think it compares to, especially in Canada, when you look at what it means to play at a Canadian university. Like, playing the Kohl Center is just something, a surreal feeling.
Yeah, and if you haven't been to a game in the Kohl Center, it is really next level. Those fans go crazy. The last thing I wanted to point out in our first line that we're doing here is I read that, you know, you say that nobody outworks you. You're a very hard worker off the ice. Do I have that right?
I like to think so, yeah.
Okay, what goes into that and why?
I think it's just part of how I was raised. I was an only child, and I think a lot of people think that might mean you're spoiled or something, and if anything, I think it was the other way around. You know, I didn't have anyone to compare myself to except myself. And so just understanding that it's up to you at the end of the day to get yourself where you want to be.
And obviously Tyson is a fantastic hockey player, but also a really, really good golfer. We're going to talk about that and how his hard work works into that aspect too when we come back to the Wisconsin Huddle. Welcome back into the Wisconsin Huddle. I'm joined by Tyson Dyck with the Wisconsin men's hockey team. Obviously, the Badgers, a premier hockey program, but you're not just a hockey player. Would you consider yourself a golfer too?
I like to think I'm a multi-sport athlete, yeah.
It's golf season right now. I was telling Tyson earlier that on Monday morning, I got the chance to go out and hit the links. Now, I'm sure Tyson is way better than me because I'm not very good at all, but who would have thought a couple weeks ago that that opportunity would arise in mid-February?
Absolutely, and when it comes, you got to take advantage of it.
I bring up golf with Tyson because he's not just a recreational golfer. He did a U.S. Open qualifying event, and if I have this right and if I don't, correct me, but the way I understand it with the U.S. Open is essentially that they're looking for the best golfer in America, whether they're a professional or whether they're just anybody. So there's qualifying events all around the country. Anybody can compete in them, and if you win and you win the next event, well, then you're going to go play in the U.S. Open. You did that. What was that experience like? And before I let you answer, he was 4 shots away from competing on the next round or the final qualifying round. What was that like?
Yeah, it was really cool. It was an opportunity to actually have my teammate on my caddy, so it was just a great way to spend 4.5 hours outside. And I love to golf because I love to compete, and unfortunately hockey season ends come April, and that leaves 5 months in there where I don't get to play hockey, so something has to take my competitive itch away, and I'm lucky to say that I'm able to play some golf.
So you mentioned that you weren't able to skip class or aren't able to skip class for, your NHL development camps, but you did skip a class for this U.S. Open, right?
Yeah.
For the qualifying event. Which class was it, and how did that all kind of work out?
I believe it was a first-year English class run by a TA, and I just let him know, hey, I'm probably not going to be here. The weather's looking pretty nice, and there's something I'd love to do, and he was all for it.
So how do maybe hockey and golf, how are they similar? I always find it interesting that Mark Johnson at his press conferences almost always brings up golf. And I think part of that is that he's just done this for so long and is tired of talking about hockey and the same answers every day, but he always brings up golf. Are there comparisons and similarities at all?
I think like the biggest comparison is just the camaraderie in golf. Like you play a foursome with all your best friends. Like by the end of the 4 hours, you're gonna have some pretty good conversations. You're gonna be pretty close, and that mimics the locker room a whole lot, in my opinion. As far as competition-wise, I think it's totally different, which almost makes it like really beneficial to hockey. You're working your mind in a way that you don't get to work when you're playing the sport you compete in.
What about a slap shot compared to a 7-iron? Is there any similarity in the swing at all there?
Maybe. Like I golf right-handed and I play hockey left-handed.
Interesting.
Which is weird to say. So if anything, maybe it works against me, but I'm sure that some guys maybe think of their slap shot when they're hitting a driver.
And for you, whenever hockey does end, you'll have golf always to go back to. Is that something that you've done since a kid and probably will do for the rest of your life?
Yeah, my parents put me in any sport I was willing to play growing up. So my dad would go out to golf. I'd bring my putter at 2 years old. So it's something I've known forever, and I like to think of golf as a life sport. So in any career and on the weekends, I think it'd just be a great opportunity to get outside.
I don't think enough people talk about this, the fact that Wisconsin is one of the top 10 states when it comes to golf courses per Golf Digest. A, did you know that? Do you like the courses here? And B, what's the golf scene like in British Columbia?
I had no idea, but I was extremely pleased to find out University Ridge is as renowned as it is, and honestly, it's about as fun as a golf course as you're going to play. So that was a pleasant surprise coming in. Golf scene in BC is very different from Wisconsin. It's a lot of trees. We still get a lot of rain, and you're walking everywhere. You're not in a cart, so you got to bring your mud boots sometimes. You got to whack it around, but it's a very different test, but it's a very fun test.
That is absolutely amazing. And, he's not the only Badger that has pursued other sports and played other sports. When we come back, we'll talk about one of his teammates that tried to play baseball before he came back to hockey, next on the Wisconsin Huddle. Welcome back inside the Wisconsin Huddle. Andrew Banstra joined by Tyson Dyck from the Wisconsin men's hockey team. And we just got done talking golf, doing that in February. Who would have thought we'd be able to do that? Baseball would be a little bit harder to play this time of year, though.
Certainly would.
Yeah, if only. But Ryan Botterill, one of Tyson's teammates, he gave up hockey before he came to Wisconsin, and he really gave it a run. I sat down and talked with him about what that experience was like and why he could not give up this game.
Options can be life's biggest blessing and its biggest challenge.
I decided to play baseball originally, so I quit hockey.
When he was 10 months old, Ryan Botterill's first word was ball. And from that point on, he was 50-50 between ball and puck.
In the winter, it was always hockey. I always wanted to play in the NHL. And then in the summer, I wanted to play baseball and play in the MLB. So it was always back and forth.
But when the Manitoba native finished high school, he had to choose, and he chose baseball, moving 1,000 miles away from home to Alberta to attend a baseball academy.
That was right around the time of COVID. So we weren't playing hockey, and I was just playing baseball. And then I played baseball for about a year, didn't play hockey, and then I kind of decided that I wanted to go back to hockey, and I really wanted to give hockey a shot.
Saying he couldn't live without hockey.
When I was playing baseball, I went and watched a couple hockey games, and it was just like crazy how much I missed it. And I just felt like there was something missing in my life.
So he played junior hockey for a year, and with his skates back under him, he went all in, committing to play collegiately at Wisconsin.
Like every summer, I still play catch with my dad or my buddies at home and go watch them play baseball, which is nice, but I have no regrets about going back to hockey at all. I love playing hockey.
But as fate would have it, on a bitterly cold night in 2025, his two loves collided when Wisconsin played Michigan State at Wrigley Field, of all places.
I mean, I just felt like we had to. Like, you have to play catch if you go to Wrigley, so I mean, a couple of guys were like, let's go play catch, and I was like, I want to hop out on the mound. I think that would be cool.
Realizing that sometimes you don't have to choose just one love.
Being at Wrigley was very cool. Like, I remember watching the 2015 World Series when the Cubs won, and that was crazy. So even just thinking of that, like that was being played on that field that we were going to play a hockey game was cool. And then always like the Winter Classic, that's super cool event. So that was a really cool experience.
So did you play any baseball at all growing up?
A little bit. I think I stopped in 6th grade. Eventually I had to pick between the two. I wasn't as fortunate as Ryan to get to play for so long, but I played a lot of baseball for a lot of summers.
He tells me he could throw a 95-mile-an-hour fastball. Pretty incredible, and really an incredible sacrifice to give that up to play hockey.
Absolutely. If I could throw 95, I like to think maybe I'd be in the big leagues right now.
Fair enough, fair enough. Well, we're going to keep talking all kinds of things Wisconsin men's hockey when we come back to the Wisconsin Huddle. Welcome back into the Wisconsin Huddle right here in the WISC TV studios. I'm Andrew Banstra, joined by Wisconsin men's hockey's Tyson Dyck. And Tyson, my favorite thing about hockey, one of them at least, is the slang in hockey. It's almost like a different language. Are you a fan of that dialect? And do you have a favorite hockey slang term?
I don't know if I'm a fan, but I think it almost just comes off as second nature now. You're around it so much. I think a big one for me is beauty.
Okay, and tell me what that means. I think we talked about it a little bit last week, the word beauty, but I still, you hear the word beauty, there's a natural inclination as to what you think it means, but in hockey slang, it means something a little bit different.
Yeah, it just means like a good guy, someone who's always laughing, charismatic, and just a joy to be around.
I think that's a fantastic one because, you got the Deeks and the Dangles and you name it, but we don't really get into those. We have some other really good ones in this week's Badger Banter. Ask your teammates the same question.
Probably just say chirp.
Okay.
A lot of guys do it. We do it to each other, so I don't know. I think it's kind of funny the way it comes off the tongue too, so that's probably my favorite word.
And chirping, that's talking,
It's talking trash pretty much, yeah.
And who is the best trash talker on your team?
I'd say, without me in the question, I'd probably say Adam Patilla too.
Okay,
he's up there.
You're right up there?
I'd say we go head and head, yeah.
Okay.
We'll go biscuit for puck. We'll go biscuit.
And why biscuit?
Just biscuit in the basket sounds nice once you scoring a goal.
Probably Selly. I don't know. I feel like that's a good one after you score.
And for somebody that wouldn't know what that means, what is it, and what's your favorite way to say it?
I'd say when you score, like just a celebration, like throw your hands up in the air or something. One of my favorite ones, I don't do it, but my favorite one is the Wayne Gretzky one where he's like running on the ice with his hands up.
So my favorite one, Tyson, that we didn't get to is gong show. Is that one that's used at all, or am I just kind of making that up?
No, I think it's used more than we'd like to admit.
Okay, fair enough. What does that one mean?
I think that's just when stuff hits the fan.
Yeah.
You know, it's a gong show. Something went wrong, and it probably went wrong in a lot of places. So, yeah, when things aren't going right, and a lot of things aren't going right, you call it a gong show.
Fair enough. I just think it's a hilarious word to say. You have to say it as much as you can. But the one thing that we haven't talked about so far is hockey. We'll do just that when we come back to the Wisconsin Huddle. Welcome back into the Wisconsin Huddle. I'm Andrew Banstra, thrilled to be joined by Wisconsin men's hockey's Tyson Dyck. And if you know anything about this show, we don't talk as much about the sport as we do about the human, but we've got to talk a little bit of Badger hockey. Wisconsin 5 or 6 weeks ago had found themselves as the #2 team in the country. They lost 6 in a row, have won 3 of 4 since. Heading into this final turn of the season, what's maybe the vibe and the feeling right now amongst your teammates?
Yeah, I think it's excitement. Ultimately, coming off a down year last year, if you told us that we'd be in a good position to make the tournament and play some fun games down the stretch, I think we all would have taken it. So maybe the last few weeks didn't go the way we wanted to, but at the end of the day, we're still in a position to reach some goals.
And this weekend, it doesn't get a whole lot much more fun than that. Hosting #2 Michigan. Are you excited for that? That's going to be later tonight that this game will be played. Just what are the energies coming into a game like that everything is right in front of you? You can beat one of the best teams in the country.
Yeah, I think there's just a different buzz around playing a really good team and playing a really good team at home. You know, our students are really energetic, really supportive down the stretch. So you get the Kohl Center packed, and there's nowhere else compares to that when it's full. So, you know, I'm really looking forward to tonight and just hopefully kicking some ass.
Absolutely. You couldn't ask for a much better answer than that. As you head, past this weekend even, and I know you probably don't look all that much past, what's right in front of you, but when you look to the Big Ten tournament and hopefully even beyond that, what can this team be in the postseason? How good can this group be?
Yeah, I don't think there's any team that we can't beat, and that's exciting, and I think we proved that in the first half of the year. So I think the sky's the limit for this team, and it's on the 26 guys in the locker room to just continue getting better every day and reaching our potential.
And for a guy that loves to compete, opportunities like this one and like those others we're talking about, come late February and March, is that kind of what you personally live for?
Absolutely. Like I remember 2 years ago when we played Michigan in a 5-versus-4 matchup at home and ended up sweeping them, and that's something I'll forever be able to tell my kids about. So I'm hoping to add another weekend like that to the books.
Absolutely, and we'll be watching not just this weekend, but all throughout, hopefully all the way to the Frozen Four in Las Vegas. Tyson, thank you so much for joining the Wisconsin Huddle. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks, Andrew.
Absolutely, and we will see you next week.
I'm a first man.